Welcome back to NATOR'S Game Picks, ladies and gentlemen. It is Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that good stuff. It is 2 games coming on today, Christmas. So we're up early. We got the natural light today. Let's go ahead and recap week 16. I got 12 games right, 4 games wrong. Before I got wrong, I had the Chargers over the Broncos. The Broncos over the Chargers. The Chargers won. I had the Cardinals over the Panthers. Panthers won. The Commanders losing to the Eagles. The Commanders beat them, and I had the Cowboys losing, and they beat the Buccaneers. Nice little surprise there. Overall, it was 12-4 for the week. Some close scores, some not so much, and that's 162-78 for the year. We have 2 more weeks of football. A couple teams in the NFC eliminated from contention, in the Niners and Cowboys. Well, so be it. And then week 17, we have some playoff clinching scenarios as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on. What's going on? Okay, so guys, what's going on is we have 2 games on Netflix, Christmas specials. You know, they're trying to milk that money out the NFL, big cash cow. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Let's see the Chiefs at the Steelers. The Chiefs can clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC if they beat the Steelers. Steelers are at home. They currently lost 2 games in a row. This is a game that they need to win to get their good psyche going into the postseason. I think they can be competitive here. I think this game's going to be very competitive. I think the Steelers have beat the Chiefs 2 of the last 3 times they've met. They are getting George Pickens back from injury. He hasn't played the last 2 games. Kind of limited their vertical attack and the Steelers. And this is a game where they need a threat downfield because the Chiefs defense, you typically play the sticks. They're not really afraid to get beat downfield because they have very good cornerback play. So I can see this going. I can see this being a very competitive, fun game. First matchup of Christmas out of 2. I think the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes win this game so they can rest their starters, and not all their starters, but most of them. Bolton, Chris Jones, Kelsey, Mahomes, and players like that. Maybe some of their alignment, and they'll rest them for their next week's matchup. So it's not gonna mean nothing if they lose that game in their playoff seeding. So I think they beat the Steelers here with a score of 27-23. Moving on, the second game of the Christmas special on Netflix is the Ravens at the Texans. Texans, very tough injury to their young wide receiver Tank Dell, who had a dislocated knee and torn ACL. The second time he's had a season-ending knee injury like that. As his rookie year, he also went out early. This is very tough to overcome. You can see his quarterback full of emotions, and this is the tough thing about football. This is why here at NATOR'S Game Picks, we try to make picks without looking at no Vegas odds. I don't like to do that stuff for this reason solely, because whoever had Tank Dell in their fantasy, sure, he caught a touchdown on the way out, but they're probably like, oh, now I have to drop him and do all this. But I mean, these guys have families. These guys are people. You know, they're not gladiators. I know it on game days in between whistles that they kind of metaphorically are, but at the same time, they're not when that whistle blows. So I'm gonna say the Texans will play inspired because of this, but the Ravens can be in a AFC North clinching scenario if they beat the Texans, I believe, with that Steelers loss, as I predicted. So the Ravens are going to try to do that. I think Lamar Jackson is putting on an MVP case just as much. He's obviously competing with Josh Allen, but you can make the case that Lamar Jackson definitely deserves it this year more so than last year, as most people would argue. With weapons like Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, and I just think this attack is going to be too much for the Texans to overcome. They've had a lot of injuries. They're going to be limping into the postseason, it seems. They will be in there, but they probably don't want to play teams like the Ravens or the Chiefs or the Bills when they get in there. But I think the Ravens beat the Texans here, score of 30-24. Now we have a Thursday night football game the next day. So on the 26th, we have the Seahawks at the Bears. I think the Bears at home, not really much they've had such slow starts the last 3 to 4 weeks. I think they come out here a little sluggish. Seahawks have also started the games off slow. Not as much against Minnesota last week. They did lose that game. But I think that the team that starts the fastest has the better chance. I think the Seahawks must win this game as they are facing a playoff clinching scenario the next week against the Rams. But if they lose this game and the Rams win, I think they are eliminated. So they have to win. I think they do that on Thursday Night Football. I think they beat the Bears here 31-27. Moving on, we have a doubleheader on Saturday. So a lot of games before the Sunday hits. We have 2 games on Saturday. It's good. The first one is Chargers at the Patriots. These 2 teams have been in lopsided affairs each time they've met in like the last 6 years. But I think the Patriots at home, finding out a lot of good things about their young quarterback, but obviously more things to be answered about how to protect this young quarterback. He's not throwing to the biggest named weapons out there, but he's making plays to a lot of skill players on his team. So that's a good sign. Now you just need to give him some protection. The defense needs to play more consistent. They've missed a lot of tackles, along with teams like the Bengals and the Saints. They're among the highest in the league in missed tackles, so that's going to be something they need to fix, as the Patriots have always been fortified on defense. A Jim Harbaugh team coming in here, coming off of a big win last week against a division opponent. Have the Patriots and then the Raiders next week, so they need to win out. Win one of those two games to be in the playoffs to clinch their spot. As the Broncos and Colts are looking for that 7th seed as well, just as the Chargers. So it's going to be a race for that. I think the Chargers get it. I think they beat the Patriots here 24-23 on the road. Broncos at the Bengals. Bengals at home. The Broncos coming off of a disappointing loss last week. I think the Broncos go into Cincinnati and face a buzzsaw that could potentially steal that 7th seed, as we're talking about. I think the Chargers are actually the 6th seed currently, and the 7th seed is now between the Broncos, Colts, and the Bengals. So I think the Bengals here against the Broncos, big game. Playoff implications. I think the Bengals have more experience than this Broncos team on offense, more so than defense. But since this Broncos defense is good, it's a good matchup where this Bengals offense is experienced. The Bengals defense, I think, will play better. I think they'll wrap up, tackle to the ground, and try to get after Bo Nix a little bit here, as he has been rattled when he's gotten a lot of pressure lately. So I think the Bengals at home, I think they beat the Broncos here and set themselves up in a good position to try to make the playoffs, as they do have to win next week as well. But I think the Bengals win here 31-17. Cardinals at the Rams. Now we are... This is the 3rd game on Saturday. I'm sorry. So there's another game. We're not still on Sunday yet. This is the Saturday night football game. Is the Cardinals at the Rams. The Cardinals have officially been eliminated from the playoffs. They're still going to play with their James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray, and all their starters against a Rams team that's taking care of business. They beat the Jets 19-9. Nothing fancy, nothing nice. Matt Stafford threw a pick and only 115 yards passing. But Kyron Williams, he should be a Pro Bowler this year at a running back position. Probably not all pro, but he's been carrying that offense. Not necessarily carrying it, but it runs through him. Like the play action passes to Nakua and Kupp and Robinson, and they have good blocking receivers. This is a very well coached team. This is also a team that no one in the NFC wants to see in the postseason. No other higher seeded teams, I would say, want to see. They're going to be on the road, and they're going to play with the vengeance. They want to get back to the Super Bowl. They were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. So I think the Rams can do that. I think they pull it off against the Cardinals here at home. I think they beat them 26-22. Now we're on the early window of Sunday games. We have the Colts at the Giants. I think the Giants here, not much to play for. They have currently the worst record in the NFL, meaning that they have the claim to the number 1 overall pick. That's going to be something they want to keep. I'm not saying they're going to lose on purpose, but they're just not a good team right now. And the Colts, with Anthony Richardson, they're also in that playoff race, as they need to win out the last 2 games and depend on some teams to beat other teams. But I think they do that here. I think they need to do this. I think the defense has played better. I think offensively, they're focusing more on the running game instead of the passing game. With Jonathan Taylor and Richardson, you should run until you're stopped, like with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. As obviously Lamar Jackson's a better passer than Anthony Richardson, but maybe that's something they can finish the season on, and then in the offseason they need to get busy with his footwork and his delivery of the ball. I still think there's chances and hope for him, but next year is going to be his final year to prove that he can pass the ball, as he's currently on pace for one of the worst completion percentage statistical numbers for a whole season, up there with Tim Tebow from 2010 or 2011, I think 2011. So the Colts win in New York, a score of 20-10. Now, next up, we have the Jets at the Bills. The Jets have been more competitive. They lost 19-9 against the Rams team, which I thought was going to be more high scoring. They failed to do that. It seems like Garrett Wilson might be one out of New York. I don't think they're going to move on for Aaron Rodgers. And they traded for his buddy Devontae Adams, who had a great game against Jacksonville. Had a touchdown last week as well. But obviously, had a touchdown last week against the Rams as well, but it wasn't enough. Against the Bills team, they had some injuries in their secondary, as they struggled to beat a Patriots team last week, beat them only by 3. Taylor Rapp has been out, Rasul Douglas. They've had some injuries there. I think Matt Milano was out. So that could be something the Jets can exploit. But then again, I think the Bills offense takes care of business. They're at home. I think this is their final home game of the year. They'll take care of business here. Josh Allen is not going to blow you away with his numbers. I don't think he's just trying to win this game. He's not looking at, I'm trying to throw 5 touchdowns and run for 2. because I'm competing for this MVP. I don't think the MVP matters so much to him as much as making it to the past the AFC Championship this time around. So I think they get the win here over a Jets team, putting them out of their misery, score of 27-16. Titans at the Jaguars. These two teams met each other 2 weeks ago. I predicted the Titans to beat the Jags at home. The Jags beat them. Then the Jags lost to the Raiders. Now the Raiders, Jags, and Titans all have 3 wins. I do think that the Jaguars are a worse team than the Titans, considering the Titans need their questions answered at quarterback, as their defense has been relatively good. Last week was pretty bad as they gave up 335 rushing yards to the Colts. They've been decent against the run up until that point. This may be something the Jaguars can exploit, but I don't think they're able to do that. I think the Titans win here of somewhat of a snooze fest. I think the Titans beat Jacksonville in Jacksonville, score 17-14. Moving on, we have the Raiders at the Saints. I think the Saints, they lost on Monday Night Football 34-0. They started Spencer Rattler. This team looked uninspired, still missing tackles. The Green Bay Packers were a buzzsaw, ran right through them, had a freaking feast at home in Lambeau, honoring old Matt LaFleur, comparing numbers with Vince Lombardi, winning percentage, all this stuff, and completely undermined the Saints. Even the announcers were kind of like, well, what can the Saints do now? That's kind of embarrassing for them. I don't think Dan Rizzi's going to be their coach going into next year. He is the interim currently, as they did fire Dennis Allen. A lot of changes coming in the Big Easy. I think they may move on from Derek Carr. A lot to be answered. The Raiders, even if they win here and move from pick number 6 to number 7, or if they lose, they go from pick number 6 to number 4 or number 3. I don't think they care. They'll find them a quarterback. I'm just guessing. And this team is overall not as bad of a roster as, like, say, a Jacksonville or a New York Giants. So for that reason, I can see them trying to want to finish out the year as good as they can. They might want to try and spoil the Chargers in Week 18 as they play next week, in case the Chargers lose to the Patriots. Even if they don't lose, they want to beat the Chargers next week. So I think they do that by beating the Saints, getting them some more momentum. As Brock Bowers is on his way, should be the Rookie of the Year, but on a team that's only won 3 games, it'll go to someone like Jaden Daniels. So that's fair. He's about to break rookie receptions record, which is held by a receiver. So insane right there. He's a great pick for them. They'll probably try to build around him. Maybe they go for a receiver, O-line, running back. I'm not sure. But we'll see. The Raiders are going to get the win in the Big Easy, 28-24. Panthers at the Buccaneers. This was a potential upset I wanted to see. I think the Panthers can beat the Bucs here, further spoiling their chances. The Bucs are currently out of the play. They're in currently the 8th seed after the loss to the Cowboys last week. Since the Falcons beat the Giants, that slipped the Falcons into the 7th seed because the Falcons have beat the Bucs in 2 head-to-head matchups as they're both in the same division. I think the Falcons lose later to the Commanders, but I think this game the Buccaneers might let them slip away. But I think they pull it off. Baker Mayfield, they came out a little slow. Their 2-head attack, they had a lot of turnovers against the Cowboys, and then this Panthers team played very good against the Cardinals. Spoiled the Cardinals. Cardinals got eliminated from the playoffs as the Panthers beat them in overtime. And other than that loss to the Cowboys 2 weeks ago for the Panthers, they've been highly competitive the last 5 weeks. And looks like they're playing more inspired for Bryce Young and Dave Canales. As obviously this first year was going to be a test, and they'll probably build on this end to the season this year into the offseason and next season. I think this team could be very good. Obviously they have a lot of holes to fill on defense. If the Buccaneers can exploit that, I think they win, and I think they do, but this could be a potential upset, and the Buccaneers could be very much in trouble going into Week 18 if they lose this game. But the Buccaneers at home, I do think they beat the Panthers here 31-30, sweeping the season series against the Carolina Panthers. Cowboys at the Eagles. This is my upset alert of the week. I didn't have one last week. My apologies there. It didn't hit me until the games were going on. But I think this is the game where the Eagles need to win and win next week to have a chance at that number 1 seed, as the Lions are currently holding that in the NFC. They have to play the Vikings, Lions, and and the Eagles are currently fighting for that number 1 seed. Potentially Green Bay, but they'll have to need those other 3 teams to lose out. But I think the Eagles, Jalen Hurts did suffer a concussion against the Commanders. He's in concussion protocol. I don't know his status for the game. I'm assuming he probably won't play because I don't think they want to risk that. They do want home field advantage, but I think this team can go on the road and beat anybody. They might be, they don't want to meet a team like the Rams, but if they do, they'll be in the NFC title game, and the Eagles will be home because of their record and head-to-head. But I will say that I think that the Cowboys are playing very inspired. They're looking at they're sending a message to their ownership, and I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see him not lay over. I'm glad to see that the defense is picking up steam under Mike Zimmer. I'm glad to see that rookies from the 2020 rookies from this year's class and last year's 2023 class are making plays and showing up when called upon, and that's good to see as a fan that know that we're already eliminated from the playoffs. But hey, why not play some spoilers and make sure that send the Eagles on the road for most of the playoffs and not. It's not going to be an easy game. Even with Kenny Pickett in the starting lineup over Hurts, this Eagles team roster in general is still very good. Vic Fangio, this defense, they're going to be playing hard. CJ Gardner Johnson got ejected last game. He's going to be in this game. He's going to come out with a vengeance. I hope CeeDee Lamb takes care of his shoulder. He is going to play. He's a warrior. I love him. I love to watch him play. But I think this Cowboys team and this Eagles team, it was a bad showing from the Cowboys earlier in the year in the Cowboys Stadium. This could be the game. Cowboys haven't won a game in Philadelphia since 2021. Maybe this is where they end that. I can see that happening in the upset alert of the week, in going to be a very competitive, intense game. So I'm excited to see this. I think the Cowboys beat the Eagles in Philadelphia, a score of 27-23. Dolphins at the Browns is the second window of games for Sunday. Dolphins at the Browns. Browns are also shopping for that top 5 pick. And the Dolphins are also trying to make that push for the 7th seed a little bit harder of a path there, as they need to rely on some other teams losing. We'll look more into that when we have the Week 18. That's when we'll look at the clinching scenarios. I know you guys, I don't have no graphics up here to show that, but the Dolphins need to win here. I think they do. It's not going to be easy. The Browns at home. Myles Garrett has played some good games last couple weeks, but this quarterback play for the Browns is very inconsistent, and against the Dolphins defense that's been finding its own, especially in their front seven and their pass rush. So this is going to be a field day for their pass rushers, although I can see the Dolphins offense being very sluggish if they can't get their main culprit in Devon Achane going in this game, as he was responsible for, I think, 70% of their offense last week in the win against the Niners. So I think they win this game, but they need to get Achane going to make sure it's a comfortable win. If not, they could struggle trying to beat this Browns team. So I think they beat the Browns on the road here at 25-18. Packers at the Vikings, America's game of the week. This game was moved from an early game to a later window. Jordan Love, the Packers, young team, 2023 picks, 2024 picks, showing out. Edgerrin Cooper, Lucas Van Ness, Jair Alexander has been out for the last 4 weeks, but you can't even notice because their secondary has been clamping down. They hit. So does this Vikings defense. Brian Flores, Kevin O'Connell, very good combination of coaches. I think this team can make a run for the Super Bowl. If they beat Green Bay here and then they go to beat the Lions, they would clinch the number 1 seed. I think so, because the Lions and Vikings have to play each other Week 18. So this NFC North has just been monstrous this year. I'm not looking forward to the Cowboys playing this division next year, as these are going to be all good teams. The Bears probably have gotten a little better too. But I think the Packers, on the road, they've played a lot of good games at home. On the road, they've had some issues turning the ball over. Last time these two teams played, they made a late comeback, but it was too little too late. Jordan Love's going to want revenge. He remembers that game. This Vikings pass rush has been great. But the secondary has had some holes, so I expect the Green Bay to attack this Vikings secondary, just like I expect the Vikings to try to attack this Green Bay secondary with Jordan Addison, TJ Hudson, and Justin Jefferson. Been very great. Sam Darnold has put on a very great season. But look for this Green Bay pass rush to be the difference in this game for the Green Bay to win. I do have the Vikings winning, but this could go either way. This is going to be the game of the week, hands down. I think the Vikings pull it off at home, 37-34. But then again, any given Sunday, anything can happen. Sunday Night Football is a matchup of two top 10 rookie picks. Second overall pick in Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders are at home hosting the Atlanta Falcons, who have a rookie quarterback starting who's 1-0. He beat the Giants last week at home, and Michael Penix. He's going to get tested here against the Commanders team that beat the Eagles last week. High. They clinched a playoff spot. The Commanders are in the playoffs for the first time since 2015, I believe. 2016 or 15. So this is going to be big for them. I think this is going to be a good game. Like the future of like two NFC franchises are going to be displaying their talents here. I do think the Falcons move on from Kyle Pitts in the offseason as they try to look to replace him with maybe just a more blocking tight end. I don't know if their stretch zone scheme is going to keep going. They are efficient, but there's some teams that just don't fold under that. But I don't know. I think this is still a great rush attack. I think that's how they're going to attack the Commanders. But if the Commanders can get pressure on Michael Penix, it might be a long game for the rookie. And I think the Commanders do just enough what it takes. They don't turn the ball over. I think the team that turns the ball over the least is going to win this game. I think that's the Commanders. And at home, I think they beat the Falcons here 24-14. And finally, the last Monday night game of the year, as there's no Monday night games usually on the last week of the season, is the Lions at the 49ers. This is a rematch of the NFC Championship from last year. You wouldn't think that from watching the Niners this year, but yes, they beat the Lions were up 17 at halftime in that game, and they lost the game by 3 points, I believe. So they went for it a lot on fourth down in that second half, and they failed. And they arguably felt like they should have been playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but that's not the case. Niners now, don't look good. They lost to the Dolphins last week on the road. They're gonna have a losing record this season, as they have 9 losses already. I think this is a game where the Lions come out and just try to humiliate them, because why wouldn't you? This team beat you in the NFC Championship last year. I think I'm expecting that from the Lions, and I think the Niners can't do much about it, as they're kind of discombobulated on both sides of the ball. So I think the Lions go in there and beat the Niners. It would score up 35-17. That's week 17. Week 18, we'll break down the playoff clinching scenarios. As for today, enjoy happy holidays. Tell your family you love them. Spend every time. Cherish every moment. I'll see you guys soon. NATOR'S out, and bon appetit. Peace.